Well, after this true story, I shall tell you a story, a fantasy of my own, which is called The Wine of the Tetrarch. When, on the first Wednesday after Easter, the apostle Simon, called Peter, was walking in the streets of Jerusalem, so absorbed and lost in the idea of the resurrection that he could not have told whether he was actually treading the pavement or was being carried along above it in the air. He noticed, on passing the temple, that a man was standing by one of the pillars waiting for him. As their eyes met, the stranger stepped forth and addressed him. "Were you not also," he asked, "with Jesus of Nazareth?" Yes, I was indeed," Peter answered in greatest hurry. "Then," said the man, "I would fain have speech with you. I have been looking for you. I do not know what to do. Will you come into the tavern next by here and have a cup of wine with me?" Peter, because he could not disengage his thoughts sufficiently to find an excuse, went with him, and soon the two were seated together in the tavern. The place to the apostles looked somehow dark and dubious, but the man was evidently well known there and held in respect. He at once obtained a table to himself and his guest, out of earshot of the other people talking in the tavern or walking in and out. He also ordered the best wine for himself and the apostle. Peter now looked at his host and found him a most impressive figure. He was a very strongly built, swarthy man of 33, who carried himself with much pride. He was badly dressed in a patched cloak of goatskin, but with it he wore around a slim waist a very fine scarf of soft and thick, shining crimson silk. He had a gold chain round his neck, and on his fingers heavy silver rings, one of which was set with a big turquoise. It now seemed to Peter that he had seen this man before, in the midst of terrible anguish, but he could not remember where. "If you be indeed the follower of this Nazarene," the man said, "I want to ask you 2 questions. I shall tell you my reasons for asking them as we go along. I shall be glad if I can help you in any way," Peter said, still absent-minded. "Well, help," the stranger said. "Now, my first question is it true what they tell me about this rabbi of yours, that he had risen from the dead?" "Yes, it's true," said Peter, his heart melting with his own words. "Nay, I was told so," said the stranger, "but I did not know whether it was true or not. People will tell you many things. Is it true also that before he was crucified, he told you that he would rise from the dead?" "Yes, that too is true," said Peter. "Do you take it," said the man, "that each word he has spoken will come true the same way?" "Nothing in the world is more certain than that," Peter answered him. The man was silent for a short time. Well, he said, I shall tell you why I'm asking you. It is because a friend of mine was crucified with him on Friday on the place of a skull. To him, this master of yours promised that he would be on the same Friday evening in paradise with him. Do you hold it that he'll now in paradise? Yes, Peter said. He is in paradise by now. That's a good thing, said the man. He was my friend. Here a small bare-legged boy of the tavern brought wine in a pewter can and 2 pewter cups and set them on the table. And this, said the stranger, is the other thing that I wanted to talk with you about. I have drunk a good deal of wine since Friday last, and it has all to me seemed bad, poor stuff. Something has happened to the wine of Jerusalem. They have neither body nor flavor to them any longer. I think it is due to the earthquake that we had on Friday. Nobody but I seemed to realize what a great earthquake that was. It has turned them all bad, insipid. I do not think that this wine is bad, said Peter, to encourage his host, for he looked sad as death. Isn't it? He said more hopefully. He sipped a little wine, then again set down the cup and said, yes, this also is bad. If you call it good, it is perhaps that you have not much knowledge of wine. I can tell one wine from the other, and good wine has been one of the great pleasures to me. Now I do not know what to do. Now about this man Faris, he went on after a short time, I'll tell you how it came about that he was taken prisoner and condemned to death. He was a friend of mine, a brave man, and he had got brave men with him. He was a highwayman on the road between Jericho and Jerusalem. Along this road, a transport of wine was being brought, a present from Caesar in Rome to the Tetrarch Herodes. And amongst that was a hogshead of red Capri wine, which was beyond price. One night, as I was sitting with Faris in the very place where we are sitting now, and talking to him, I said I would give a year of my life to drink this red wine of the Tetrarchs. To show you what my love of you, said Faris, and to show you that I'm not a much lesser man than you are, I will go out there with my men, and I'll kill the overseer of the transport and the men with him, and dig down this hogshead of red Capri wine below such and such a cedar of the mountain, and we'll go out and drink it together. He did indeed do what he had told, but when he came back to Jerusalem to look for me, he was recognized by one of the men who had managed to escape, the men of the transport, and he was seized and brought to the prison and condemned to be crucified. I heard about this, and I walked about in Jerusalem for 2 days and 2 nights, thinking of a means to help him to escape. On the evening of the first day, I walked past the temple, and on the steps there I saw an old beggar who I had seen there before. He was ill, his legs were swollen to the size of the legs of an elephant and all bandaged, and he was also mad. He used from time to time to walk up to the steps of the temple by sunset, and there to cry out terrible curses against the great people of the country. And because people knew that he was mad, they only laughed at him. But on this evening it happened that a centurion came past with his soldiers, and when he heard the things that the man cried out against the wife of the Tetrarch, he grew angry. He told him that if ever he did this thing again, he would have him sleep in prison, and he would have him dealt in the evening 25 strokes with a whip, and in the morning the same amount, to teach him to speak with respect of great people. I heard this, and I thought, this is my opportunity. So in the course of the next day, I had my hair and my beard shaved off. I had my face rubbed with nut oil, and I dressed myself all in rags to look like the old beggar. I bandaged my legs the way his were, but inside the bandages I hid a sharp file and a long, thin, strong rope. When the evening came, I walked up to the temple, and I found that the old beggar had been so frightened that he had not dared to appear. So I took his place on the steps, and just as the watch was passing by, I cried out the most offending things I could think of against Caesar in Rome himself. And the captain of the watch had me seized and brought to prison, and there I was dealt 25 strokes with a lash, and for the sake of the future I took note of the face of the man who dealt them out to me. But with a coin of silver I bribed the turnkey to shut me up in the cell where Fathers was being kept, high up in the prison, which, as you will know, is built into the rock. Fathers fell down and kissed my feet, and he gave me some water, the only that he had. But later on we set to work together to file through the bars of the window. It was difficult work because the window was very high up in the wall, so I had got to stand on the shoulders of Fathers, or he on mine, and this last was not good because my shoulders were sore after the whipping. But just as the streets of Jerusalem beneath us and the mountain in the distance were getting grey in the light, we had managed to file through 2 of the bars of the windows, and we fastened the rope around it and let it out. I made Fathers go down first, and he slid down the rope, which was not quite long enough, so he had to let himself drop for 2 or 3 feet. I came after him, but I was too slow that night, and it happened just as I was getting out that a batch of soldiers came in with a new prisoner from the Mount of Olives. They had torches with them, and in their light they saw me hanging in the rope on the wall, and they seized me. Now Fathers could have got away if he would have run, but he wanted first to see what was happening to me. So they took hold of both of us and brought us back to prison. This is how it happened. All that, said Peter, I hold to be very brave in you, and it must be good to you to know that you were really willing to risk your life to help your friend. With these words he sighed deeply. Oh, said the stranger, I've lived too long in the woods to be frightened of an owl. Has anybody told you about me that I was the kind of person to run away from danger? No, Peter said. But he went on after a while, you tell me that you were both seized. Still, as you are here with me tonight, I take it that you yourself got off somehow. Yes, said the man, I got off. And he gave the apostle a deep, dark glance. And I thought then that I would avenge the death of Fares. But now you tell me that he's in paradise, so I know I don't feel the need of doing so, and I do not know what to do. I might dig up this wine and drink it by myself. It would be sad to you without your friend, Peter said. He felt that he ought to reproach the man with the theft of the Tetrarch wine and the murder of the men, but somehow this night he did not feel like it. And since you told him that you would give a year of your life to drink it. Yes, I did so, said the stranger, but I looked upon a year of my life differently then to what I do now. And it wasn't that I was thinking of, but say that this wine, although it was buried, has lost both body and flavor. What then? Peter thought the matter over. Friend, he said, there are other things in life to give you pleasure than the wine of the Tetrarch. Oh yes, I know, the man said. There are that, and I've got two full-bosomed, long-haired wives, young wives waiting for me. And just before all this happened, I purchased a thin little girl of 11 with big dark eyes, a virgin. I haven't seen her since. I might try them. But say then that the same thing has happened to them as to the wines of Jerusalem, and that they have no longer either body or flavor to them. What then? Now Peter began to wish that the stranger would stop his complaint and leave him to himself. Why do you come with this to me? He asked him. You remind me, said the stranger. I'll tell you. I have been told that your rabbi, on the last day of his life, made a great carouse to his followers, and that on this occasion a very rare wine was served, which obviously had in it some strange and unique body. I wanted to ask you if you had got any of this wine left, and if you would sell it to me. I will pay you your price. Peter stared at him. Oh God, he cried, upsetting his wine so that it was spilled all over the table and the cup rolled down on the floor. Oh my God, you do not know what you are speaking about. This wine that we drank on Thursday night, with all his treasures and all his wealth, with his empire itself, Caesar in Rome could not purchase one drop of it. He was so shocked and revolted that he rocked to and fro in his chair. He even bet his forehead 3 times against the wood of the table before him. But after a while, in his loneliness and misery, the word of the Lord that he was to be a fisher of men came back to him. So that after a while he looked up and tried, from his long experience in the fisherman's trade, to place the dark, heavy fish before him, swimming so lonely. A misgiving, a sadness came upon him, as if amongst all the men in the world, this man was the only one whom he could not help. He took recourse as the best tackle, the best net he would have, in another word of the Lord, and said to him, "My son, take up thy cross and follow him." The man at the same moment had been about to speak. Now he stopped suddenly and looked very darkly at the apostle. "My cross," he asked. "Who is to take up my cross? Do you think that 3 hours is a long time to last? I should have held on longer than that. Wherever I've been, I've stood a head higher than people around me, as high as he was, or nearly as he was on his cross out there. Take up my cross. Well, might not other people tell you that he had taken up my cross? Do not think, because just now I do not know what to do, that I have not been in the habit of telling other people what to do and where to go." The terrible blasphemies of the speech passed Peter's mind almost unnoticed, because in going through the happenings of last week, he had come to the moment when at the Mount of Olives he had cut off Malchus' ear, and had vowed to himself in the future to control his temper. He did so now, and spoke not a word. After a while his silence seemed to impress the man before him. He grew silent himself. In the end he said, "And you, who have had this master to tell you where to go and what to do, you will miss him now. What do you think is going to happen to you now?" Peter's face, marred and lined by grief, suddenly softened and cleared up. "I hope and trust," he said, "that my faith, although it be tried with fire, will be found to praise and honor. I hope and trust that it may be granted me to suffer and die for my Lord." "Some hours of these last night," he went on in a lower voice, "it has even seemed to me that at the end of the road a cross may be waiting for me myself. Although you will perhaps tell me," he whispered down into his lap, "that I'm too mean and contemptible for that." "No," said the man, "I think it very likely that these things of which you have spoken will indeed happen to you." This unexpected confidence in his own deepest secret hopes and ambitions struck Peter as an almost marvelous, unbelievable piece of generosity in the man before him. The heart melted in his breast with gratitude. He blushed like a bride. He felt that he ought to do anything in his power in reward for such noble support and faith, and for words of such heavenly beauty. "Forgive me, sir," he said, "forgive me, my child, for not having been able to help you better than I've done. So many things have happened to me during these last days that I can hardly collect my thoughts. And then also, since Thursday, since that Thursday night in the gardens, I have not slept." "Oh," said the man, "I hardly expected anything better." "While we've been talking together," Peter said, "you have mentioned a couple of times that you did not know what to do. Tell me now, in what matter is this that you don't know what to do? I will try to help you, even in this matter of the wine that seems to worry you. It may be possible to me, for I have remembered now that some time ago I was present at a wedding in which some very strange wine was brought about in a very strange way. I would walk back to that place and ask them if they had got any of that wine left that you might have. Believe me, I would do it gladly if I could gladden your heart." "I wasn't speaking of any particular matter," said the man. "I do not know what to do at all. But I suppose that I may as well go back and dig up this wine and lie with that girl that I'm telling you about. I may as well try." And saying so, he got up and draped his cloak around him. "Do not go away at once," Peter said, for he felt as if he could not possibly by now let the man out of his sight. "Do not go yet. It seems to me that we will have many things to speak of together." "I have to go in any case," said the man. "There's a transport of oil on the way from Hebron, which I've got to meet." "Are you trading in oil then?" Peter asked him. "In a way," said the man. "But before you go," Peter added, it seemed to him as if he wanted to take hold of that dark, hardened hand close to his and to hold on to it, and he was doing so in these words to a stranger. "Tell me one thing before you go. Tell me your name, for I might then look you up and we could meet again." The man was already standing in the doorway. He now turned and looked at the apostle. He looked a magnificent figure. "My name," he said. "Do you not know my name? My name was cried out on Friday last all over Jerusalem. There was not one of the tame burghers or artisans of the place who did not scream him with all his might, not one of the captains of the town who did not then pretend to be a cock and cry it out 3 times. "Barabbas," they cried. "Barabbas, give us Barabbas." My name is Barabbas. That name will be remembered. With these words, he walked away.